Hello and welcome to our podcast on the world of systemic and family therapy, featuring the therapists. In this era of prolific podcasting, there are so many amazing therapists offering important and valuable thoughts and insight into the world of mental health, including many amazing systemic and family therapists. Yet, as two licensed therapists and educators and therapists in training, what often fascinates us most is not the thoughts and insights, but the people themselves. Those who have chosen to become systemic and family therapists, whose personal stories have driven them to sit with, hold space for, and be in relationship with others who are struggling and going through hardships. This podcast aims to explore and interview a variety of family therapists in different spaces and places and their personal journeys and their careers as family therapists to highlight their humanity, their passions, and their motivations to be helpers and healers. And in true experiential and systemic foundational principles, we hope to do this with a little bit of joy, humor, and laughter. Thank you for being with us. Today, on our first episode with a guest, we are so excited to have Dr. Shruti Singh-Poulsen joining us. But before we formally introduce you, Dr. Poulsen, in the light of having a little bit of fun and laughter at the top, we have some very important questions to start off rapid fire here.
Okay.
What is your favorite food?
Chicken curry.
What song best describes you?
I can't think. I probably Bollywood Bhangra music. I can't think of a single one. Yeah.
If you could only wear one color for the rest of your life, what would it
Oh,
be?
easy. Blue.
Blue.
Of course,
That's
I'm
what I
pink,
said.
but blue. Blue.
Okay. What animal are you and why?
Dragon. Yes,
And
I know
why?
it's a mythic because I was born in the year of the dragon, and I turned 60 in the year of the dragon.
Nice.
And people tell me I'm sort of fiery.
Okay. Fair.
You are.
What is your favorite place that you've ever gotten to visit?
Istanbul, Turkey.
Well, thank you for that. We will formally introduce you now. So, Dr. Shruti Singh-Poulsen is a core faculty member in the online Master's and Doctoral CFT program at Alliant and is serving as the branch director for the online doctoral program. Dr. Poulsen has been a clinician, an academic, and a scholar in the field of CFT since 1994. Dr. Poulsen research interests and scholarly work are primarily in the area of cross-cultural responsiveness in CFT, clinical supervision, training, and teaching, and also focused on interracial, multiracial couples and families, and the experiences of immigration and its impact on individuals, couples, and families. In the 2016 to 2017 year, Dr. Poulsen was a Fulbright Scholar in Istanbul, Turkey. She has been a core faculty member at Alliant since 2022. And prior to Alliant, Dr. Poulsen was a faculty member at the University of Colorado, Denver for 11 years. Dr. Poulsen, thank you so much for joining us and being the first guest in this podcast. I know that's a potentially scary prospect to go first. We really appreciate you being here with us.
Thanks for asking me. It's my first podcast of anything.
Wow. Well, welcome.
To be really honest with you, you were actually part of the inspiration for how we designed the podcast and the interview. 2 years ago, maybe, you gave the lecture series, the CFT lecture series, where you shared a lot about you. And that really is what spoke to us in designing how we would want to do a podcast. There's so many, again, great people out there saying great things about mental health that don't know that we needed to say more on that, but to really highlight the people that chose to go into this field was really inspired by your story in that lecture.
Thank you. Thank you.
So kind of in that vein, in the tradition of family therapy, we do a lot of social locating when we talk at conferences and write and give papers. Is there a social location you'd like to position yourself in and talk about to get us started?
I identify as female, cisgender. I am Asian Indian, was born in India, and I'm an immigrant. Will probably feel that way my entire life, no matter how long I live anywhere. Let's see, I come from a pretty highly educated background, family background, so that's part of the identity, I think, and the privilege I hold. Just accidentally born into that family, and that has certainly led me down many beneficial paths, professionally and personally. I'm a parent, I'm a grandparent, I'm, I guess, right on the tail end of a boomer generation. I consider myself a person of color. I think those probably hit the major ones.
We are very interested in your journey. So, how did you find your way to family therapy? And what made you get into family therapy?
Whenever I talk about my journey and my story, it's pretty circuitous, I would say. It took me 10 years to finish my undergraduate degree because, as some of my friends like to remind me, I was a child bride. I got married rather young, 41 years ago. And I guess I didn't say that in my social location, but I am part of an interracial relationship, intercultural interracial relationship as well. That's a pretty important part of my identity. I got married pretty young, had not finished my undergraduate at that point. I was in and out of undergraduate work, starting and then stopping and whatnot. And in the middle of it all, we moved to California from Colorado, and I started my Montessori training because I was working in a Montessori as a teacher's aide and really liked it. And the folks that I was working with, three Pakistani sisters, were just like, yeah, you need to take the training. And so I took the Montessori training in Santa Monica. We eventually moved from California, and then I started working full time as a Montessori teacher in Springfield, Illinois. By then, I had my first child, who also attended that same school. During that time, and I picked up my undergraduate studies again because there was a small state college in Springfield, Illinois. It used to be Sangamon State University, and now it's part of the University of Illinois. So just in working as a teacher, Montessori teacher in particular, we would have parent teacher conferences, etc. And I was taking undergraduate courses in a pseudo sort of social work program called Child, Family, and Community Services. And so it, matched the things that I was learning and doing as a Montessori teacher as well. But I came to the realization that all I see is just a glimpse of these kids that I'm working with. And obviously my job wasn't to be that therapist, but then I would meet with parents or parent teacher conferences and just feel like I don't have enough knowledge, and they almost seem to want, counseling or therapy when we would meet. And that's when it occurred to me that I might want to hone my skills and my education more into the mental health realm, the therapy and counseling and whatnot. When I had originally started my undergraduate degree at University of Colorado Boulder, back in Colorado, I was a psychology major and just hated every minute of it. But I kind of knew I wanted to be in the mental health profession still. And so this degree that I was trying to finish up in Springfield matched what I wanted. And so I ended up finishing my undergraduate degree 10 years after I had graduated from high school. Much to my parents' displeasure and worry, and then went pretty much straight into my master's at that point because by then I had a second kid, and the thought of just basically working to pay for daycare seemed really illogical. Plus, I knew I wanted to, go further and be better educated. So I just continued in the same program, but there was no official marriage and family therapy program, CFT program at that university. But there was a faculty member, Carol Moy, who I still get teary-eyed about. She was sort of my first mentor and person that introduced me to the field and kind of took me under her wing, made me understand what it meant to be a member of AMFT. So I've been a member of AMFT since 1992. A very long time. I kind of worked and collaborated with her to guide and help other students learn more about the MFT field and whatnot. I ended up taking about from 14 to 16 additional credits to tailor the master's degree that I was getting in child, family, and community services to be more family therapy oriented. And at the same time, I had another faculty member who also took me under his wing, and he was a diehard, we're talking like 1970s, hippie social justice, social policy type social worker. And so I got that angle as well in terms of the mentoring and the education. He was pretty disappointed that I kind of leaned more towards the therapy part because he felt like that was for, rich people and the privileged and et cetera, et cetera. But he taught me so much about how to make my work, or at least my perspective, more social justice, social policy, just social awareness oriented. So kind of had the best of both worlds in many ways. So then after my master's, I ended up working in family therapy in the community mental health settings. I worked intensive family therapy services in a community mental health setting. Also did a lot of crisis work after hours. So I was working with families immediately, in the foster care system and whatnot, and pretty high needs, kinds of cases. I did that for about 4.5, almost 5 years. But one thing I've known my whole life, even if I have not known the subject matter that I wanted to be, is that I wanted to do a PhD. I wanted to be an academic. So there was that piece of it. So after my master's, I started teaching adjunct at the same university where I had done my undergrad and my master's. So immediately got into academia. But it, became more and more clear that I wanted a different balance in my work. I wanted more full-time academic and part-time clinician rather than what I was doing, which was full-time clinician and part-time academic. But to do that, obviously, you had to, continue on to a PhD. So that's when I applied to a number of schools. Purdue was one of them. And Carol Moy, who was still alive at that time, when she heard that they had offered me an interview, she was like, if they offer you admission, you need to go there. There's just no other choice. I did get offers for admission to a couple other PhD programs in other parts of the country, but ended up, at Purdue, which I'm eternally grateful that I had the sense to make that decision. Really got even more immersed, obviously, was in a doctoral program, got to study with people like Dr. Doug Sprinkle, who was my professor and mentor, and then eventually also a friend before he passed away. And then Dr. Volker Thomas, he's actually one of the first folks that, or I always reach out to when, besides my dad, he's a retired academic. Volker's like my academic dad. Whenever anything big happens to me in the academic world, tenure, promotions, those kinds of things, I'm like, Volker, guess what? It's because of you. He was my chair. So that's what led me into the academic part of being a CFT. I think the other thing is that in my master's, even though I never fully grasped, it wasn't until my doctoral work that I really, really, really fully grasped systemic work and what it meant to be a systemic therapist and all of that. But in my master's, what happened was that I came across language and concepts and information that resonated with how I think about the world and my own cultural experiences coming from Asian background. I finally had the language to describe some of my own values and beliefs and thoughts about the world and how it works and how do people change or develop and things like that. So as an immigrant, my entire life, I get this metaphor from colleagues all the time or students that I'm always searching for a home. And I think, that is very true of the immigrant experience. Having left India when I was 5 years old, I've been back many times. I even lived there for a full year as a child. I've lived in some 40 some plus homes across my lifetime at this point, when I count all the different homes till now. Going back to India, yes, feels like home, but it isn't fully home. The US is home because, as I say, my home is wherever my crap is. And of course, my people are. So that's where we are right now. I got grandkids, I got, children, all that, and plus all my stuff. So this is home for now. But it never, ever feels, neither place feels fully like a home. So the only place I can think of, or experience I can think of, that feels like home for me is my professional identity. I don't know if that's sad or not. I'm not sure if that feels a little odd, but yeah, it feels like home. It feels like where I fit in, like who I am. So that's really the way I ended up here.
We touched on maybe a little bit in our first episode. You may be the one person that has had more homes than myself that I know of, because I'm at 37 myself. I just was resonating as you're speaking about that professional identity really feeling like the home space when
Yeah.
when there's been that much movement, right?
Yes.
You sort of touched on this already, but how would you say that you found your home in academia?
Has a lot to do with my dad. After we left India, he and my mom went to Great Britain, and that's where he did his PhD. We joined them a few years later. We were being raised by our paternal grandparents, and then we eventually joined my parents in England. I was about 8, I think, when my dad graduated and earned his PhD. It's such a distinct memory, of being at that ceremony. And of course, being England, it's all pomp and circumstance. I have a very distinct recollection of saying, this is what I want to do. I had no idea what I was going to do it in, but this is what I want to do. And maybe it was just the grandiosity of it all, of being hooded and this outfit that you get to wear. I love wearing all the hood and thing. I always feel like I walk taller or whatever else. I love it. I miss being in person for ceremonies like that. After that, my dad, he spent his entire adult life, professional life as an academic. So I grew up in that environment. We would go to his office on campus in Singapore. He was at the University of Singapore. And then in Zambia, he was at the University of Lusaka there when we were in Central Africa. Those are my memories, of being in, of course, academia in some of these other countries, a little bit more laid back, shall we say, than the United States. So I might have gotten a slightly rose-colored view of academia, but it's just always been part of my life, and I feel that it is a privilege to have had that opportunity. I mean, it's just accidental. I was born in this family. Obviously, I didn't earn that privilege. I earned my PhD and any other professional accolades since. That was just really, really important to me to go that route. I like the life. I like what I saw my dad was doing. Never thought I would be okay with, speaking in front of a whole room of people, Zoom room or otherwise. That didn't seem like who I was, because I'm pretty much an introvert and relatively shy person. So it's weird. Maybe this is where it feels like I get a safe space to be something else. So yeah, I just, always loved the idea of being and as I've gotten older and more into the field, I've started to see it as a way to give back. I mean, obviously, yeah, I get paid to do this, but it just seems like a really unique way to engage in our field. And not to be all cliche about it, but to really impact larger groups. I mean, I love the supervision aspects of what we do. And then, as we have these challenges in our field, are we, getting watered down and things like that? It starts to feel like, yes, I'm holding on to a way to, perpetuate the identity of CFT and all those kinds of things. It feels a little bit more urgent doing this type of work. I do like clinical work. I mean, I have a tiny, private practice, and I do enjoy working with couples and relationships and whatnot. But the teaching and the being engaged with students and who are wanting to go in this field is pretty exciting. It's not never dull.
I was saying earlier when I was talking with Dr. Webster that it's really easy in our field to diversify and have our hands in many different pots, so to speak. What's new and exciting in your world right now, topic-wise?
I've honed in more so to a more specific, I mean, my doctoral work and whatnot, it was a little bit broader, diversity, cross-cultural responsiveness. And I'm more focusing in on South Asian Indian populations. And that's an big part because of the colleagues that I'm now working with who are also from this background. And so we have similar interests, Seshadri being one of them. And it's, I think that would be probably where I have shifted a little bit to be more specific about which diverse, groups am I focused on, not just diversity in general. I think the other way that my work has shifted, this is indicative, this podcast, I don't know that I would ever do something like this in the past, but what's indicative of some of the shifts I'm making is having been in the field so long, I feel like I don't know that I have much else to share other than kind of my own take on things, if you will. Even if it's something along the lines of interracial, intercultural relationships, I haven't figured out how to do it yet, because scholarly work and the constraints of publishing and all that have just sort of beaten into me this way of writing that I am finding very difficult to break out of. So I do enjoy that presentation that I did a couple of years ago was really something very different for me, and I was scared to death because it was like so personal, but at the same time I was kind of like, I don't want to just go talk about something academic and intellectual or whatever else. I want to talk about how I got here, why am I a therapist, why might this be meaningful to others or useful in hearing that sort of stuff. I think I have shifted that. I'm trying to find my voice in that regard. I keep saying, yeah, I'd love to write a book, but I'm just like, who wants to really hear what I have to say? But again, I almost feel like now I need a coach to help me write differently, write more authentically, write less like a scholar, yet still have the legitimacy, if you will, of it being, scholarly work. So that's kind of a long-winded answer to that, but those are the shifts that I'm seeing.
So if you're thinking about like takeaway message for students or future students, what would you tell them?
Really understand yourself before going into this, or as you go into this. I know we do. It's part of our field to do therapist work all along the way. That really seems to me the key, that you really need to know yourself and continue to know yourself in order to stay engaged in a field like this. I know that doesn't sound particularly profound, I suppose, but I would say that's probably one takeaway, that you just need to keep working on yourself. And I don't mean just endlessly navel gazing. It is with a purpose of impacting your work and how you engage with your clients, with other people in your arena. So, I mean, it has a purpose. But I can't think of any field really that we're encouraged to do this sort of thing, right? It's to me a major privilege of what it is that we do. And so for students, I would say take advantage of that. Gosh, you're not gonna be in any other field that asks you to do this kind of work. And it actually has a direct correlation with, your clinical work and how you engage with your clients and with the kind of work that you want to do. So I think that's pretty important. Remember that it's a journey. Isn't this, oh, now I am the competent, perfect. In fact, even the word competency and cultural competency, all that implies some sort of end point. You've arrived, and that's not the case. You're constantly working towards learning more, understanding your own field, and of course yourself. So I think realizing that it is a journey and that you'll continue throughout your career. And it'll help you just get, better and better. You're never going to be perfect. Continue certainly to make mistakes, but that's also part of the journey. And mistakes are how our clients learn, and certainly how we learn. If we didn't make mistakes, you wouldn't have opportunities to learn. So try not to aim for perfectionism. Anyone in graduate school, we've all been there. We're all a bunch of perfectionists, and we wouldn't be in graduate school if we, weren't. But that's like our biggest, I think, challenges as therapists. And I see that in students too. They want to get it right. And it's like, yeah, your clients are, what's the meta message here to your clients? If you're seeking perfection, or it's just not there, and so to be okay with it. I guess I have more takeaways than I thought I did. I would say you're not the end all be all. That's the other thing. When I went into this field, I had no illusions or thought that I was going to save the world. I was going to save a bunch of people or whatever else. I was pretty pragmatic, and still am, that that as a therapist and a counselor, I'm part of my client's world and their process temporarily. They were getting on without me before they asked for therapy or came for therapy, and they're going to get on without me. Besides me, they have untapped, possibly, resources and strengths. And so for me, the minute I start assuming that I am somehow the one, sometimes I remember the ones that tell you, oh, you were wonderful, we couldn't have done it without you, thank you for telling me. Yeah, those are the ones you really want to hang on to. But, much as I love hearing that, and anyone would, and certainly as beginning therapist, you're like, yeah, you want to hear that you had a huge impact on your client's life. I have to remind myself, no, I'm not the one that did this. They did the work. They have, this whole context and environment that they've been able to tap into. So it keeps me from, getting into too much hubris about my supposed power or impact. I think it has something to do with the fact that I'm the youngest in my family, right? I think we as youngest anyway, are like, yeah, been there, done that. Everybody's already seen it. What do I have to offer, kind of a thing. So it keeps me humble. But I do think it has helped me as a therapist to keep things in check, have a really good idea of where my boundaries are with, particularly with clients. I may not always be that with my family members, but yeah, with my clients, I am very clear about where my boundaries are and what my impact is on, on them, and that they're the ones doing the work. I am providing a crucible, facilitation, support, whatever you want. And I have expertise. I know that I have expertise to bring to the table, but I'm not the end all be all in my client's life. And so keeps me humble, keeps me from possibly doing things that lead you down the path of sometimes unethical behavior.
Maybe similar thread, or maybe different here. What do you think's the secret sauce for doing family therapy?
Secret sauce.
Or your secret sauce, maybe more specifically. What magic do you bring?
I am nosy. I say that to students. I'm like, yeah, you got to have a certain level of, and you can call it curiosity if we're going to be, professional about it. But yeah, I'm just plain nosy. I just love stories. Sometimes my spouse will tell me he's met so-and-so, and I'm like, oh, okay, so what about this? Oh, how do you not ask? How do you not ask? Why don't you want to know these details? Yeah, man, give me a good story. And it's like, I'm now over 30 plus years of seeing clients, in small batches, obviously small practice, but their stories may have similarities, but there's never an identical story or experience. It's just all so unique. I mean, there's just so much there. So that to me is the secret sauce. Like the day I stop feeling nosy or curious, it might be time to hang up that, put away that shingle.
I always say that to students too. Like, if you get bored in this profession, that's on you. You're doing
Yeah.
it wrong at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Similarly, I say we should always have questions.
Yes. A much more professional way to put it.
All right, that brings us to our next section. We're going to do rapid fire again, but more related to family therapy. So, who is your favorite historical family therapist? Think on your feet, Dr. Poulsen.
Whitaker.
Perfect.
If you were an intervention, what would you be?
Triangulation. Triangle. Or detriangulating, I should say.
Okay, which theory would you least likely date?
Least likely.
Yeah.
Strategic.
Okay.
What is your favorite therapy or therapist quote?
You cannot not communicate. How can you not love that quote? I mean, I know maybe it's overly cliched this way, but yeah, you cannot not communicate. That, boom, blew my mind.
All right. And last but not least, I think this is my favorite one, actually. If you had a therapy superpower, what would it be and why?
We are actually looking for something that's not real, like an actual superpower.
Oh, I would like to be a fly on their wall at home. That is what I would like.
Like sonic hearing or being able to.
Yeah, I want to know, what's behind the curtain when they're not in front of me in the room or in the Zoom, or telehealth or whatever. I want to be able to be an observer. Yeah, that's
And
creepy,
you
isn't
can
it?
fly away anytime you want.
It sounds a little stalkerish. Well, it's sort of the equivalent of, Gottman's research, right, where you had all those love labs and things like that. Yeah, certainly. There might be a
People showing
professional
up
way to do it.
authentically unmasked and
Yeah.
in their fullness of whatever that is.
Absolutely.
Well, that is our questions for you. We're so grateful again to have you starting us off on this journey of podcast and getting to speak with just our amazing colleagues and family therapists that are out there doing this work. And so we're so appreciative of you being here, your time, your story, and sharing that with us.
Thank you so much. It's been fun.
Thank you.
Toodaloo!